Russia has clearly postured itself in response to NATO as though it can counterbalance or deter the alliance. However, expert examination of Russia's current military reveals it is not likely to pose a real challenge to NATO in a prolonged all-out military engagement. The current NATO force structure in Eastern Europe would be unable to withstand the Russian invasion into neighboring Latvia, Lithuania and Estonia. A new think tank study has concluded after conducting an exhaustive series of war games wherein red and blue forces engaged in a wide range of war scenarios over the Baltic states. A RAND Corporation study called Reinforcing Deterrence on NATO's Eastern Flank determined that a successful NATO defense of the region would require a much larger air-ground force than what is currently deployed. In particular, the study calls for a NATO strategy similar to the Cold War-era air-land battle doctrine from the 1980s. During this time, the U.S. Army stationed at least several hundred thousand troops in Europe as a strategy to deter a potential Russian invasion. Officials with US Army Europe tell Scout Warrior that there are currently 30,000 US Army soldiers in Europe. The RAND study maintains that without a deterrent the size of at least 7 brigades, fires and air support protecting Eastern Europe, that Russia could overrun the Baltic states as quickly as in 60 hours. As currently postured, NATO cannot successfully defend the territory of its most exposed members. Across multiple games using a wide range of expert participants in and out of uniform playing both sides, the longest it has taken Russian forces to reach the outskirts of the Estonian and or Latvian capitals of Tallinn and Riga. Such a rapid defeat would leave NATO with a limited number of options, the study writes. Air-land battle was a strategic warfighting concept followed by U.S. and Allied forces during the Cold War, which, among other things, relied upon precise coordination between a large maneuvering mechanized ground force and attack aircraft overhead. As part of the approach, air attacks would seek to weaken enemy assets supporting front-line enemy troops by bombing supply elements in the rear. As part of the air-ground integration, large conventional ground forces could then more easily advance through defended enemy front-line areas. A rapid assault on the Baltic region would leave NATO with few attractive options, including a massive risky counterattack, threatening a nuclear weapons option, or simply allowing the Russian to annex the countries. One of the limited options cited in the study could include taking huge amounts of time to mobilize and deploy a massive counterattack force, which would likely result in a drawn-out, deadly battle. Another possibility would be to threat from the nuclear option, a scenario which seems unlikely if not completely unrealistic in light of the U.S. strategy to decrease nuclear arsenals and discourage the prospect of using nuclear weapons, the study finds. A third and final option the report mentions would simply be to concede the Baltic states and immerse the alliance into a much more intense Cold War posture. Such an option would naturally not be welcomed by many of the residents of these states, without question leave the NATO alliance weakened if not partially fractured. A rapid assault on the Baltic region would leave NATO with few attractive options, including a massive risky counterattack, threatening a nuclear weapons option, or simply allowing the Russian to annex the countries.